Shalom, shalom, yashala. Uh, Video going into Israel's gods that they worshipped, and you could imagine how angry the Most High was. Being that we're married to the Most High, and that He's the only God we're supposed to serve. Now Israel be like, well, God doesn't exist, or we don't. But you all into these other gods is having you to go off doing some mo shit and perverted shit. Look at the industry now while worshiping those other gods and people that into those other gods, like these nations. It says all the gods of the nations are idols. Psalms 96:5. That's one of my favorite scriptures. Going back, Apostle Gabar, I always mention him. Serapis Christos. Going back during the Greek times, you could look them up, and you see they got picture, like right here, and it says how he, not how, but it says, yeah, lefty. It talk about Serapis Christos becoming Jesus Christ. So why would you call on Jesus Christ, and he's a replica pretty much of Serapis Christos? And of course that Christos word Christ means anointed, anointed, supposed to be anointed, which means the anointed one, Mashiach, or Mashiachim, the saints, pretty much. That's why you have that grease, like I always mention, that grease that you cook with is it's called Crisco, but it's a grease, but it's supposed to be a oil, but that's a corrupted version of it, you know. So that's what Criscos mean. That's one of them, and you can read more into that. And the Apostle Elders got videos on him, but they got a bust of him looking similar to Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ, so to speak, so called. His real name is Yahawah. So we definitely don't use that name. And that's how far back we go to worshiping other gods. You got Zeus, um, which is the thing for Jesus. Let me see what kind of bust they have for him, and it's basically gonna pick. And he's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be the god of thunder, and lightning, but it's still the kind of same bust of that guy Serapis. So, and you of course you had a lot of Greek mythology, but they those the Greek mythology ideas they spawn from pretty much real men, real characters that really existed. But none of this half horse and half guy shit, but the basics and the fundamentals of these Greek concepts, and we were heavily influenced with the Hellenistic age by Greek customs, and therefore calling ourselves Greek names. Greek means accept. We were accepting the ways of the heathen. Greek means accept to receive, and even in a sexually perverted way, which goes back to Moism. But anyway, you had Dagon, the fish god. Let me look that up. I think it was the god of the Moabites. But you see, even the Pope wears that fish hat. I'll get that. It's maybe god of the Syrians. Okay, let me see. Their god was a god of Mesopotamian pantheon, pantheon of over 1,000 deities. He was worshipped as a creator god, chief deity, the lord of the land in ancient Syria and coastal. Okay, coastal regions near the Euphrates River, where he was later depicted as half man, half fish. Let me get that. So I'm thinking of something else, I guess. But you see, the Pope, he got the fish god hat. So they don't really have a religion. All that shit is make believe. Talking about this so-called white man. What's our response to Dagon priest hat? Which is, he's in the priest come from the Catholic Church, which is which means universal, pretty much Catholicism, but it's take its form by these devils to be established, as a religion. Why is the Pope hat shaped like a fish? And then they had that fish with the name Jesus inside of it, man. Let me get that scripture. And it's really a mockery, man. See right here. So these are, you can imagine like how deep the rabbit hole goes with these different gods and religions and all that. Baal. He's often depicted as kind of like a Baphomet, like a androgynous, how do you say that? Androgynous demon, if I'm saying it right, the return of Baal. They got some of these statues in museums and all that. And, similar to Molech, which is pretty much, same thing, because Baal, let me get that in Hebrew. It means owner or lord. Baal of wings and that's a Hebrew word. Semitic common now, Baal meant owner or lord. For example, a Baal of wings was a winged creature, and in the plural, Baalam of arrows and indicated archers. So, and a lot of these names, like, you gotta remember that too. Like, these names are not the actual, not all the time the people that it reference or goes back to. Well, just like Lucifer, that just means light bearer. So it's a righteous Lucifer. So if it says owner or lord, and you say, well, they use the word landlord today, you would say, well, he's my land Baal. That's a Hebrew word, but it doesn't mean necessarily evil itself, the word itself. But, they take upon these names, and just like it says in the scriptures, they name their lands after their own names. So it becomes this big thing when dealing with names. And that's why it's a big thing with the name of Yahawah or Yahweh Shai. There's actually spirit in the names. As they develop and become, something, and Most High had to break the staff of the wicked. So these words can become in the righteous hands again, and these names, so we can become, so everything it could be in perspective. Goddess Asherah, Goddess Anath, Queen of Heaven. We mentioned it's in Jeremiah. I think Queen, they were baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven, burning incense to the Queen of Heaven. They do that now. Birthday parties that do that now. Kamala is a form of so to speak, a queen of heaven. Apollo, we was son of Zeus, Hades, brother Zeus. You had the Apollo Theater, you know, which is amateur night at the and they rub that tree for good luck. That's all witchcraft, man. You know, and you see what Apollo had become. And it was sold to these devils. And first, Apollo was it was so-called white people, with this theater before black people came in. Um, Athena, Aphrodite, according to Esau, is approximately 320 million different religions or gods. Who is the strongest? Okay, Shiva. We talked about that. Shiva Jata, which our people are influenced by too with the dreads. Horus, Iris, Osiris. Cyrus was the father of Horus of Egypt. Isis, the mother of Horus. Horus himself. Um, Esther, Ishtar, which is the Babylonian goddess of love. It says, and you know that's why people worship Easter. It's another word for star. Um, you know, that's why when Yahawah was born, they wanted to know where his star was in the east, and that was a chariot. It was, and they met, because the chariots pass over. So, that word Easter in the scriptures is supposed to be Pesach, which is Passover. So there's no such thing as an Easter with a bunny laying eggs and all that shit, all that BS. It's actually a real holy day, and they corrupted it and turned it into something else. Just like the rainbow, these moles, these demonic moles, turn it into something else. Like this what these people do. These evil, hateful people do, and this is all shots toward the Most High, as if He was man, but nah. It says, Serapis Christos, I mentioned that, was introduced to the 3rd century BC on the orders of Pharaoh Ptolemy, the first of the Ptolemy kingdom, as a means to unify Greeks and Egyptians in his realm. And that's what they're trying to do now. I mean, Egypt is one of the biggest, not Egypt like it, but the eastern region is one of the biggest components when it comes to these back and forth talks of even war when it comes to America. I mean, Russia, they're Edomites. The core of them, the main military might over there of Edomites, but they're still in the Eastern world, so to speak. But they have East and West over there too, and a lot of them are divided even to this day. Germany was divided, and if you read about Germany, it was divided East and West, and one side, I think that was the Western world, was divided to be the Christians, and the other to be into Nazism and we call it Zionism. So it lets you know Zionism in Germany, they in the same pool, man. It was a pact that they had. It was a working together that they had. They play chess, man. So Apollo was a god of music, healing, and plague poetry. That's why you had our people get into Apollo Theater, amateur night at Apollo, amateur night at the Apollo. I ain't gonna lie about this amateur night. And then, that was, like I said, that was one of the first shows, black TV shows that you could watch. I remember that it came on during Good Times. And that was in the 1970s, I think. Amateur Night at the Apollo. And then let me see. Let me get a picture of the tree that they rub. See, and we Most High said we worship gods of wood and stone. You have the Muslim Kaaba stone. A lot of people are into Muslim religion, worshiping Allah, and Allah just means power. And they bow down to the Kaaba stone. I'll pull that up. The Tree of Hope, they call it, 130th Street in Harlem, New York. See? They're infatuated by it. They feel it brings them good luck, magic, so to speak. I was gonna look up something, man. Apollo, Anjanai, tree. Let me get that scripture right quick. Other gods, wood and stone, King James Version. Deuteronomy 28:64. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people in one end of the earth into the other." That's why we're over here. "And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy father has known, even wood and stone." Oh yeah, the Kaaba. It's called the Kaaba stone. You see Muslims surrounded that, millions, thousands or whatever, surround that and bow down to it. It's supposed to be a stone of greatness, so to speak. They touch it and they even, and here, look, and it looks like an eye or a portal or something. Another one is in Jerusalem. I think it might be the Berlin Wall. I'm not sure, but the Pope, they do touch it for good luck. Let me see if they have the Pope. And America gets so-called blessed by the Pope, which is witchcraft. Let me just put this. It might not be the Berlin Wall, but just. See, pray at the wall. I don't know what wall it is, but these are very carnal people. This is how they feel they get power. And we do have, it is energy and things, and energy and even the food that we stones that we used to have. There's energy in gold, that is a healing element. It's a lot of these ground elemental foods, or that's for consumption or taking as medicine, as a healing thing, man. Getting my words twisted up. Yeah. So, Francis makes emotional visits to the. Well, of course they have that, but yeah, and then you could see the Pope bowing down to a black Madonna, so to speak. They also have the Talmud, which yeah. So if you see Madonna and all that, like the singer, and she's always talking about, you know, a lot of her songs are subliminal and significant when it comes to religion. She put subliminal things in a video, make references. But the Black Madonna is really the so-called, well, we're the form of all things. Let's put it that way. But um, these are heathenistic customs. Anything that has us go from the Most High. Let me look up Black Madonna right quick. From the Most High um, is going off. Now he's right here. They have it in their church. See, they have Jake have Serge Bourgier up in the church. Goes back to Caesar. But they have, so-called Black Madonna and the Child being worshipped. He's bowing down to a black woman right here, or washing a black woman's feet. But let me go to let's see what pops up when putting in Black Madonna. Uh, so it's a lot of over. What is this? It's really who was the black? I'm sharing that. I'll read it. La Morenita in Spanish is Catalonia's patron. Century wooden statue is dedicated to her. Pope Francis prays at the Black Madonna. So it mentions all these that diva stuff, that goddess stuff is not biblical. I mean, it does actually have goddess. Let me see. Let me go there. See, for Solomon, 1 Kings 11:5, for Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of Ammonites. So let's look that up. Goddess. It's a female way of saying Elohim.
Strong's
Elohim.
H 430, entry 1.
Elohim, but
Eloach.
divine ones, angels,
Eloach.
and it goes back.
Second entry. Elohim.
Elohim. That's in the Bible. We always go back to that.
And the third
in the
entry,
beginning.
Eloach.
The Elohim.
Eloach.
But the men are true gods. Now our women are going to have power too, as well as our children. But there is still order in the heavens, like it's supposed to be on earth. It says, "As in heaven, so shall it be on earth." So there's supposed to be order. Now they can have power, but man is still the head, and he's going to have more power than they. Or it's going to be a respect and still in order and submissive. Following the guidelines of the spirit that a woman, on earth she's called the weaker vessel. look up Talmud right quick. I mean, not Talmud, but Horus. And they got an Egyptian figure, the falcon head. The Egyptian god Horus. In an ancient Egyptian religion, a god in the form of a falcon whose right eye was the sun or morning star, representing power and quintessence. I'm bad with my words today. Quintessence, and whose left eye was the moon or evening star, representing healing. And that's why they come with that, saying that, oh, Jesus, they call him Iggy, call him Jesus. He was just like they made him up. He's pretty much a made up myth, to where he's the son of God, just like Sun Ra, and his father. Like if you look up Sun Ra, Sun Ra, and they depict him as black because it goes back. Sun Ra was in Egyptian. Ra, the sun god, was considered to be the king or father of all gods. See, and that's why they too believe that the son of God is God himself. That's Egypt mythology, and was typically worshipped by pharaohs as the primary deity of Egypt. Now, we were influenced by Egyptian customs and all that. And still today, our people reach back into Africa, but we're not Africans. We were enslaved in Africa. Remember, Moses slew an Egyptian for what he was doing to his Hebrew brother. And it says, Exodus 11:7, that 7, the Most High put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Ra served as the primary deity for the Egyptians starting around 2700 BCE in the Second Dynasty. So let's take, for instance, like I always, even today, Michael Jordan, he's still living, but he's not in the public no more. But he's a good example of because of his status. Even today, his shoes, his jersey, his what he did for Chicago, his iconic figure of his of what he did in basketball, and it's pretty much become a signature, in the black community. But let's say you heard about him and it's 100 years past from now. He would, they say he could fly. R. Kelly had a song, I Believe I Could Fly, and Michael Jordan was in it. So, even though we're going to be able to fly, but they're going to, they're going to make him a god. They still do. Some people still do look at him like that, like a god. He is. He have power. He have power of influence. That's a so to speak, a god in itself. But that's a low level of God. He doesn't rule the world. He has no military might. He has no. Not saying that, God, but that God of this world they do have that. They have access to these things that make them. But when we become gods again, we're not gonna need all that military shit, and we're not gonna need. But we're gonna be on a high level. So, but my point is, when they talk about Michael Jordan, and if it was 50 years later, well, it almost has been, but like 100 years later, they would think he was really flying. So he would become, so to speak, a myth. and people were gonna be like, no, I don't know if they were flying back then, you know, especially if they go into uh, you know, digress in power, so to speak. You know, like imagine if all the robots are doing everything and humans become weaker and weaker, and you'll be like, well, damn, we at a point to where we don't really even do nothing. The robots do everything. So you talking about a human is actually flying? So even though he's a real guy and did these things and really did, set some standards according to what he could do on the court, and just like any black athlete or any black singer or scientist, whatever, they reach certain level of notability where people respect them as such, like a god. But was he really flying? No. Well, so that's how they speak about the gods that were then. Like they were real people, but they kind of exaggerated their powers. You know, the Zeus, the